think we have very nearly tidied up this corner of our bench, which has been a work in progress. Days, weeks, I think it's been now. Let's focus on the main working area. Block off the camera. Right, hopefully that's centered. Okay. Welcome to Roberts & Co. Welcome to London. I have a little live at 5 jewellery making session. Let me turn on the YouTube copyright free music. Audio library. Let's go page 2. This is the Indian restaurant playlist. Let's go back a page. It's a bit hit and miss on the copyright free music at the moment. Right, very nearly, now the music's playing, I've very nearly tidied up this corner of the bench, which I've been trying to do for weeks so that we can get some more. There was a lot of component parts there. I want to get some more for future long format and live stream videos. I want to be able to put more tools on it because I'm quite limited for the camera angle. So I'm going to put like the ring benders or bench blocks on here. The next task is actually to tidy up this side of the bench, but I think that's a much far quicker task than all of this, because these are, maybe let's focus on this side for now. In the previous few live streams we've been making toggle clasps, and I've got a few more of these to make, so it's just a simple soldering process. There's some rings there which I think I've had some issues with the joints as well, so we'll make some rings, and there's a chain there. I want to make I think I'll be able to, there's an offcut of some Figaro chain there, but these are, first things first, these are the results of the last few evenings live streams. These are the two parts of a toggle clasp which you can use on bracelets and necklaces. They come in very handy. Very classic design. Yeah, so we're going to make some of those with the remaining rings and bars that I've got there. I've made a lot more rings than bars, but so there will be future live streams of making toggle bars. These rings, I don't know if you can make it out there, but they've all got issues. Primarily with the solder joint. The solder just either hasn't flowed or has flowed too much. And for some reason, I've got this odd length of Figaro chain. I'm going to weigh that because I want it to be less. I want the piece to be less than 7 grams. And that's quite a chunky piece of chain. So the finished piece, hopefully we can just put that on a necklace as a pendant, which will be quite. I haven't just come up with that design. I don't believe. I think I've seen similar. This is not the exact design. Obviously, that's just an offcut. I don't know what I was doing with that, but I've seen similar designs where there's the necklace, the overall necklace is one type of chain link, and then heavier gauge chain is used as a pendant, either as a drop or in line. So we'll do that. It'll be a one-off. Probably stick that in eBay. In the eBay stores, or maybe Etsy, where it's easy to have one-offs that don't need barcodes and all of that. But the first job, I'll give you a close-up, this is to anneal our ongoing project, which is this bar of 9-carat gold. So this has been through the rolling mills twice today. It's already been annealed once today. It's actually very nearly, it's completely square. There's still a few little marks, lumps and bumps from where it's in effect, it's not quite raw ingot state, but pinged. So there are the marks on the surface there are where the rolling mill hasn't quite been in contact with the whole surface. But by the end of the next roll, or certainly the one after that, that will be completely square. Well, they're octagonal because the squares, it's a squared off square. Right, micro welder and blazer for this because it's getting quite long. I'm hoping that it's going to get sooner or later on, because maybe the next roll I'm going to need a bigger container of water to quench it in, because it won't fit in there. We'll bring this up to a dull red, hold it there for a minute or so, and then quench it. Initially, when this was smaller, you could use just the blazer, but as it gets longer and longer, it's not powerful enough on its own. The micro welder is a lot hotter. The flame's finer, more precise with the micro welder, but it's hotter. It's hydrogen and oxygen, whereas this is propane and oxygen. Although it's not pure, it's filtered, atomized, which actually reduces its temperature. If you use it pure, it's so hot it will melt the steel tips. It would be something to experiment with, actually. And that is getting you get the ruby watch jewel holes and set them in the end of micro welder tips, which will make the torch tip finer, but I think that stops them melting. It's what the Smith's Little torch uses. Seeing if you can melt platinum with the micro welder. Or weld it. But it's an expensive piece of kit to be experimenting with. I'm sure the manufacturers have tried it. Yeah, that's what the ruby jewels are in the end of some of the torch tips. They're synthetic ruby, which are used in watches. Well, they're made for watches, mechanical watches. To stop wear of brass plate. Bit of useless trivia for you there. Right, I think that's long enough and hot enough. Yeah, that just about fits in there. Right, now in the pickle to clean it. Right, next job. Let's do the rings first. just going to solder a 3mm jump ring onto each one of these larger rings. The way I did this in yesterday's live stream worked quite well, where I soldered the ring together and then the 3mm jump ring on separately, because originally I was doing it in one operation. Seemed like a good idea before trying it. Although I did the vast majority of those that way. It was difficult to gauge the amount of solder doing it in one go. It required. I've never went far yet, I found it. Still need to clean out the bench tin. Straightening out these small jump rings that need straightening out. Closing up the joint with two. I'm actually using two flat nose. It's usually better, in my experience, to use flat than snipe where you can. The snipe nose, they are more prone to slipping and gouging metal out of pretty much all sizes of rings. They're way more prone to that, especially if they're curved like these, than flat nose. Very rarely happens with flat nose, but I've ruined a load of rings over the years with snipe nose. But there are some rings that it's just too. It's not applicable to use the two large flats, so you've got to use snipe nose. But you can pretty much you can very often get away with at least. You very rarely need two snipes. I'm not even sure I've got two snipes on here at the moment. I've only got one. So I do have snipe nose, but I haven't come across a situation in a long time where I've needed two of them. Double the damage, double the risk of damage. I would expect there are children out there that are going to tell you they only ever use snipe nose and they never damaged anything. Snipe nose for everything. There's always one. Right, that's enough for now. Hopefully that's cooled down. Let's flux this up, these rings up. So I need some more solder cutter as well. Right, let's use the fat tweezers first of all. I'm going to clean up those very fine tweezers because I have a habit of dropping the 3mm jump rings in here when it doesn't take a lot of flux hardened on to these. I actually have 2 different sizes of tweezer there, so I think these ones, they're probably both watchmakers, but the difference, the real difference is the watchmakers ones do have finer tips, finer points. The real difference is on all the watchmakers tweezers, the tips are the same, pretty much the same size. The real difference is the shoulder shapes. You get all different shoulder shapes. These AA or MM or NNs, they are thicker, and but yeah, it's that shoulder shape. But the thinner tips on watchmakers are really handy for really small jump rings, but they have their pros and cons. You can see that's why I'm using them both. The other thing is you can get all sorts of different, you can get them made out of different, I don't know what are these, and these are non-magnetic. You can get anti-magnetic, non-magnetic, or just normal, and it's the amount of, I think it's the amount of iron. They will demagnetize them, but from memory it's the amount, I think the iron content makes them technically stronger, but more prone to becoming magnetized just through it being in contact with magnetic things, or just even just rubbing two pieces of steel together. So you don't really need strong watchmakers tweezers, really. I mean, so yeah, you're better off the more non-magnetic, the better. I think there is a difference. I can't remember what it is. I think there's non-magnetic, and then I think anti-magnetic might have even less. What am I doing? I'm getting these ready, not. And I think that's potentially what the Indians do with their pliers, so they don't rust. Which is another bonus, because you don't want rust in your flux, because it's a solder inhibitor. That is why flux brushes have no metal ferrules holding the bristles in. Because if you use paint brushes, the brushes are held in with little metal tubes, and they rust. And they mess with your flux. But everybody uses kids' paint brushes. But yeah, you just run the risk of adding porosity to the joint. It's just another risk factor using steel in the flux, especially if you're using borax with water. You're using a sort of boric acid mixed with denatured alcohol. If you're adding water in the mix, you definitely don't want steel parts going in. Certainly steel parts that can rust going in the flux. And even if the paintbrush appears plastic, you know, some of the paintbrushes have the metal ferrule on the outside. They might have a wooden handle and then a metal brush holder. But a lot of the plastic ones, if you actually pull the thing apart, although the outside is plastic, there's often a metal crimp holding the brushes in place. You can get proper borax brushes, and that is the difference. They're made out of it's probably plastic now, but it used to be like part of a bird's feather, like a quill, I guess. And the bristles glued in. But yeah, they're probably plastic now. think I've got one. I've got one. Yeah, there we go. That's a proper flux brush. So no metal parts. It's clear, so you can see where the bristles are just glued in. That one's pretty well used, so you can't. But yeah, that's for use with the borax. If you're going down the borax and water route. Which is the traditional jeweller's flux. I just prefer the denatured alcohol or meths. It gives you a thicker coating. It doesn't, when you heat it up, the water boils and melts and lifts off the surface, whereas this sticks down when the flames burn off, when the meths burns off. You get a better coating of flux, whether you're using borax powder or the Argotech brand we're using, which is a blend. Some people don't like it though, because it does tend to get a bit sticky and gum up. But these tweezers, I have to keep cleaning them with the I have to keep filing off the flux. Because it creates such a thick layer, it gets on all the tools you're using. I've stuck those. They are stuck. They are fluxed to the board. That is why some people don't like using, they prefer using water. Right, now we need to add a small ring to each one of those. I'm flipping over for this. Right, I'll actually rest the small ring on a piece of solder just to raise it up enough to be in the middle, so the small ring is actually sat in the centre of the large ring, otherwise it will be off centre. You'd think the ring would drop down as soon as the solder flows, but for some reason it doesn't. Magic. put those on a ring so we can fish them out of the pickle pretty easily. Need to go in the pickle to clean. Right, now for some bars. I've got one here that we made earlier. That is what we're making. Just got the bars pre-cut, pre-straightened. Add a little jump into each one. These are quite a tricky soldering job. I actually don't even apply the, I don't actually apply the heat directly to, it never even goes on the ring. I'm not even applying it to the bar, I'm sort of running it along the board behind the bar, and the residual heat heats up the bar, but you kind of need the bar and the ring to be up to temperature at the same time, or really get this sort of capillary action pulling, and the bar can, the whole ring can stick to the bar. It's a write-off. You end up with it, the ring sat sideways on the bar. So yeah, if you're having a go at making these yourselves, this takes practice. It's not just you, it is tricky. I've lost a few of them. It moves as well horizontally. Just when that solder flows, it pulls the ring. I need quite a small ring to put those on. Do I have anything? Yes. Let's close this up, pop them in the pickle. Give you a little close up. Still pretty hot. There we go. Focus, maybe. Right, in the pickle. Right, now I've got these rings with various issues. I think that one's a bit of a write-off. Yeah, let's just quickly solder up these 4 rings. 4 rings there. One of them looks like I messed it up in the ring size by the looks of these. Might be salvageable. But the rest of them, for some reason, the solder joints failed. It's just cut sections out, which will be scrap. The solder on this one was quite a large ring. Sometimes the solder just will not flow on a particular piece of metal. It's rare, but it's almost like it's oil. So yeah, some of these just may never. These are 1 mil silver stackers, all of them. But they're rings that I've made thousands of over the years, so there is it's a small failure rate, but when you're running up into the thousands, well, that equates to 4. I don't know why I just threw them there and didn't sit fixing at the time, but I did. Probably because I was running out of a certain size and I just was wanting to focus on the size I was making. I don't think this bench has been clear since 2019. Might have been somewhat clear in 2020. No, I think the last time this was clear was when I was making videos in 2019. Then we had to take a bit of a break because it just went mental. So yeah, these could have been here up to 3 years. With this one, what it looked like the solder had done, which is quite an odd. It hadn't. It flowed through the joint, but then it actually formed a ball around a different area of the band, and it's an unusual. I've seen it happen a few times, but it's a rare thing to happen, and it's a very difficult thing on a 1mm ring to remove a ball of solder evenly from all the way around, so you're better off just cutting it out. And making a smaller ring, if possible. I really need to round. This one's ridiculously over. It's like a rugby ball. I need to round that off a bit, but not here. This one looked like it had been. Looks like I've put this in the reduction on a ring stretcher, and it's been out of line in quite a big section, maybe twice. But I don't know if is that even going to be a UK ring size. See if that will actually go on a ring stick. No. It's not quite round, so it could be no. That could not be a size A. Scrap. Alright, solder these. Well, that one worked fine, but like I was saying, sometimes these, they're just problematic pieces of metal. Yeah, that one's not great. Nothing wrong with it, say, but it's just not. The solder's just not flowing the way. I mean, it's worked, but for some reason the solder just is not flowing the way it should, or it would normally. We'll see what happens when they need quite a lot of straightening out. So if these ones fail when I'm straightening them out, they'll just go in the scrap pot. So if they on any parts with solder on, we don't reuse ourselves. They do go in the they do go out for scrap to be refined. You can only remelt pieces of metal that are what I would call clean. By that I mean without solder on. And a single alloy of metal, like bi-coloured, we don't mess with. Right, we're getting somewhere. Now I wanted to make this, finally, let's make this, I want to weigh this. Oh, let's make it into a necklace. We'll weigh it when it's done. No, actually, let's weigh it now, just in case. I think that's fine. But it can't, I don't want to send it for hallmarking because it's just a. So it needs to be less than 7.7 grams total when it's finished. Because I don't want to be, as it's a one-off, they're going to be relatively inexpensive. I don't want to be making barcodes and what does that weigh? 2.7 grams, that is. Lighter than I thought it was. Right, I'm going to make this a 16-inch necklace. Which I have one I made earlier. What does a 16-inch necklace weigh? 3 grams, so yeah, 5.7 grams, couple of, we're well within the limits, legal limits. A couple of, right, so what we need to do with this, let's chop it. Find the centre of it. Now hopefully these jump rings are big enough for this. I'm actually going to have to take this off and polish it a bit. It's been sat on the bench for a while, so it'll be polished before I photograph it. I'll polish the chain pendant section so it's nice and bright. do this again, but I just want to make sure it works first of all. There we go. It's a Figaro pendant, basically. Give it a close up. Let's stick on the scale so it weighs. That way. Yeah, 5.8 grams, so that's fine. So yeah, that'd be. That's it. Basically, a heavyweight Figaro chain as a feature pendant on a lighter weight. I don't know what this would be, trace cable. Chain, that's a 16-inch necklace. It's not Figaro actually, is it? What am I talking about? It's just curb. It's just a large oval curb. Yeah, it's a cool looking pendant. It'd probably look better when it's sat on someone than actually trying to drape it on my palms, but you get the gist. Yeah, I'll photograph that on a bust and so clean that. Gets rid of it out of the corner. Onto the shop. Right. Thanks for watching, guys. Let's pull this ingot out actually. The ingot, no, that still needs longer cleaning. The rings will need longer cleaning. Everything needs longer cleaning. But that is a lot of the component parts taken care of. So then we can wonder, there's still that little pile there, there's that big pile there and this, but I think that was the biggest job. So, and there's that whole bag of rings there. Right, but that's enough for this evening. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next live stream.